FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and well, election season is in full bloom, although whatever is going on with the Democrats right now, I don't know what to think. A clown show, a clown car, implosion, disaster. Not one of them could get elected dog catcher, let alone president of the United States. But following person you're about to hear from, my guest for today, is not taking anything for granted. Her name is Amy Kremer, and she is co-founder and chair of Women for America First. She's also been a former congressional candidate and was one of the founders of the modern day Tea Party. What do you think about where the election's heading, where the country's heading? What's your opinion? Why don't you send us an email? Let us know. KL@KerryLutz.com. Well, Amy, it's great to have you on the show. You have been very busy. I guess once you got bitten by the Patriot bug, your days have been very full, haven't they?
They sure have. But I've tried to step away. Listen, politics can be brutal. And I think, oh, I'm done after this. But every time, I take a break, and then it's like, I can't just sit on the couch. I have to be engaged. So I guess that's the way you feel when you're fighting for something you really believe in, and that's our country.
Well, it's interesting. If we liken politics to a contact sport like football, as they've been passing rules in football to basically protect the quarterback from injuries, to protect the players from injuries, and it's becoming less of a contact sport. At the same time, it seems to me that they've been repealing these unwritten rules, of which you're not supposed to attack the president's children. You're not supposed to attack the first lady. All of these rules that made our civil discourse, our political discourse, more civil, have been repealed. And now we're like what football was before there were helmets and before there were rules. And that kind of puts people like you in a difficult position, doesn't it?
Look, it's always, the hypocrisy is astounding. Do as I say, but not as I do is the way that the Democrats are. And it's sad, but I always encourage, and honestly, I don't even have to encourage conservatives to rise above and to be on their best behavior, because you know what? They are, for the most part. When we had this rally at the Capitol last week, we were going into congressional offices after the rally. And I said, be on your best behavior, be respectful, be kind, get your point across, but do it in a respectful manner. And by the way, leave this place here cleaner than how we found it. But I don't have to say that, because these people know that. And it's just the way that we live our lives. The left is unhinged. Let's be real. They hate Donald Trump more than anything in the world. And the reason they are so angry is because they can't get over the fact that Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump. And every time they see Donald Trump, they think, what could have been? It's just like the women that marched in the streets with their pink hats on right after inauguration. They weren't there because Donald Trump had taken anything away from them or because he had done anything to them. They were there because they had planned to be there. They had already bought their airline tickets and reserved their hotel rooms for Hillary's inauguration. They cannot get over it. And now we see what they're trying to do is overturn a national election, a duly elected president that he was elected by 63 million people. And they're trying to overturn that with this, this fake impeachment attempted. I believe really it is an attempted coup from within. And we saw them doing this stuff back. We know that it happened with the Russian collusion and whatnot back during the election and then after he was elected. But now they're doing it right in front of our faces. Bold, right in front of our faces, out there for the public to see, and nobody's doing anything about it. And listen, the people aren't going to take it anymore. We're sick and tired of it. We're fed up, and we're not going to allow them to impeach our vote. And so the American people are rising up. And there's a different set of rules for them, but we will continue to fight and push back, but we'll do it in a respectful manner, and we will get our point across.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing is respect. Don't raise your voice. Don't get angry. Let them do that. Because when they start cursing, nonstop strings of profanity, or they're screaming at the moon or cursing at whatever, or attacking police, whatever they do, they've lost the argument at that point. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. They've lost the argument. I mean, it's becoming a joke. And I actually think the more they continue down this path, I think it's an in-kind contribution to Donald Trump's reelection campaign, because the left is so unhinged. And I do believe he's going to win in a landslide. They've done nothing. The Democrats have had control of the House for, how long now? I mean, a year, almost a year. They have done absolutely nothing, and they're not going to stop. I mean, they are on this path. They want to unseat this president, and they're not going to stop with their shenanigans of trying to unseat him. And honestly, the reality is, I don't think that there's one person, any other Republican could have been elected, and I don't think that there's one person that could have withstood what Donald J. Trump has withstood so far. And he is a fighter. I don't think he's going anywhere, and I don't think he's going to back down. I think they've met their match with him.
Yeah, I hope you're right, because really, there's a process for this. There's a way this is supposed to happen, and they haven't done any of it. They've just been out to get him from day one. What is it about him, besides the fact that he beat their beloved candidate, that makes them so vicious and visceral towards him?
Well, I think it's that he is exposing the empty suits of Washington, D.C. for what they are, not just Democrats, but Republicans too. He's exposing, when you talk about draining the swamp, it's not just the elected officials that people typically think of. It's the bureaucrats. And there is a way of life in Washington, D.C. There's a reason that I think the top 5 most wealthy counties in the country are right outside of Washington, D.C. I mean, these people have been living high on the hog off of taxpayer dollars for years and years and years. And President Trump has gone in there and he has turned over that apple cart and shaken up their way of life. And that is exactly why that they are fighting back so hard. When you look at the deep state, you wonder why, why they wanted Hillary so bad. Well, I mean, because and there were Republicans that wanted Hillary too. They would have been happier with Hillary than they would have with Donald Trump. Paul Ryan, for example. And the reason is because even if it had been Hillary and she wasn't a Republican, life would have continued on and the swamp would have kept, swirling and moving along just as it always does. And they would have been okay with that, because at the end of the day, these people go to the House floor, the majority of them now, not all of them, but the majority of them go to the House floor. They, attack each other's policies and whatnot on the House floor. And then 3 or 4 hours later, they'll all be hobnobbing at the same D.C. cocktail reception with all the lobbyists. When you look at big companies and these lobbyists, what do? They give money to both sides. So, I mean, it's all a charade. Most of it's a charade up there. And so if Hillary Clinton had been elected, president, the swamp would have continued on. But Donald Trump has shaken it up and changed Washington, D.C., and he's exposing all of these empty suits for what they are. And that is why they're fighting back, fighting so hard and trying to take him out, because they're being exposed, and they will do anything to stop that.
Hey, and the latest exposure is the Biden crime family. They've been trading off of Joe's name since he was elected senator. His brother has, and then his sons traded off of his name. You can say what you like about Donald Trump's children, but the fact is that they might have traded off his name, but he wasn't a politician. I mean, parents help their children when they want to join the family business. My father did that. And yeah, you do get a head start for sure. But Trump is the kind of person, I don't think he would have put up with his kids being incompetent in positions of responsibility in his organization. Absolutely.
I mean, and, I say that your children are your report card in life, and they are your grade as a parent and you want to know what kind of person President Trump is, look at his children and how successful they've been. And they are ethical, they work hard, and they've earned it. I mean, yes, they may be his children, but also they're workaholics. I don't know anybody. I mean, one of the unsung heroes of the Trump administration is Ivanka Trump. The woman worked tirelessly, I mean, nonstop, pushing forward policies for women, for American workers. I mean, and the sad thing is you've got all this other crap going on about impeachment and Russian collusion and Ukraine and all this that you don't even know what she's doing. The work she's done to stop human trafficking. I mean, in the criminal justice reform that her and Jared have worked on. I mean, we have heard a little bit about that, but there's so much this administration has done. And a lot of it has been under, I mean, Ivanka pushing it through, and you don't hear about it because you're hearing about all this other garbage because they're trying to unseat our president. But this is the thing, back to the corruption and the collusion about Biden and stuff. I think one of the reasons that that the swamp is fighting so hard against President Trump is, yes, Biden is a Democrat and his family has definitely benefited. But you can't convince me that there are not Republicans that are in office now or have been in office that have some of the same sort of corruption going on or has gone on to benefit them and their families as the Bidens. It's not just Democrats. I think it's Republicans too. And that's why they're fighting back so hard against him.
A great point. And, you know, Lindsey Graham was making all these promises about Spygate. He was going to subpoena Brennan. He was going to subpoena Clapper. He was going to get Comey up there. He was going to get McCabe. Obviously, this guy is looking more and more compromised by the day, totally untrustworthy. We used to call him Lindsey Grahamnesty when he was trying to facilitate the invasion of illegal aliens into the country. And maybe he plays golf with Trump and maybe he supports him in certain areas, but he still seems to be deep state all the way, doesn't he?
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Financial Survival Network is brought to you today by Oren Resources, a junior exploration company with the appetite of a major. It's hot on the trail of the next globally significant discovery, creating enormous potential upside for you, the shareholder. Oren is one of the most aggressive exploration companies pursuing high-grade, scalable gold and copper deposits and has a premier 7-project portfolio, including its 2 flagships, Committee Bay in the Arctic and Sombrero in Peru. Oren's unparalleled technical team and highly experienced management has a history of success in advancing and monetizing exploration assets. No wonder Oren's been called one of the best in the junior exploration sector. Oren trades on the TSX and the NYSE under AUG. To learn more, go to orenresources.com. That's AURYN resources.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Well, Lindsey Graham definitely has some explaining to do. I mean, one of the things, you know, he said he was going to get to the bottom of why Roger Stone's house, why his home was rated the way it was. I mean, what has Lindsey Graham done? He's done nothing. And what a disappointment. I mean, listen, I was not a big Lindsey Graham supporter years ago. And then I thought he had changed his ways after the Kavanaugh hearing last year and how he stood up for Kavanaugh. And then, I mean, how he's been an advocate for the president. But now he's starting to show his true colors again, and it's been a big disappointment. And we're actually going to be in South Carolina on Friday having a protest at Lindsey Graham's office. He needs to hear from the people, and we are going to demand that he start these investigations. He's head of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Why are they not doing anything? What the hell are these Republicans doing? That is the point here, is there are Republicans that could be taking a stand and pushing back on this nonsense, and they're not. And Lindsey Graham is the one in charge, and so he's going to hear from us this week.
Good. Well, look, he was John McCain. He was his point man all this time. He stuck with John McCain. In fact, I was surprised that when they buried McCain, they didn't bury Graham with him, because he has been a sycophant of McCain, and no person, God rest his soul, no person was more facilitating and accommodating to the deep state and the shadow government than John McCain. You just have to look at the F-35. So many things all McCain knew about war was getting shot down and being in a POW camp. Not that he wasn't a hero. Anyone who spent that much time in a POW camp for the sin of serving his country is a hero. But the guy was hardly heroic once he became a U.S. senator and a candidate for president. He was the worst candidate for president imaginable.
Well, look, I mean, yes, he was a hero and he did serve his country, but that does not excuse other bad acts. And, John McCain's fingerprints were all over this Russian collusion, yes. The deep state, the dossier, and his staffers made trips over there, I believe. Listen, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of it. I certainly hope that we will, because the American people deserve to know what has happened, and we want them to get to the bottom of it. We want it to be all exposed. And I personally, I've heard people say recently, what is taking so long? And they say, just be patient. It's all going to come. Well, my God, we've been patient for 3 years. How much longer is it going to take? Just declassify the stuff and put it out there. Let us know who the bad actors are. Let us know how this came to be. The American people deserve to know. Just with all this impeachment stuff, now they're doing these secret depositions, they call them, in these locked rooms in the basement of the Capitol. And now there's no transcripts. I mean, it's just all bogus. These people work for the American people. The federal government, the federal government doesn't have money. They have taxpayer dollars. They all work for us, and we want transparency. We want to know what's going on. And I pray to God that our president does not back down. I hope that AG Barr continues to push forward. The president pushes forward. And I hope that eventually we get to the bottom of it and we see who these bad actors are and how this all came to be, because the American people deserve to know.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that for sure. I mean, we've waited long enough, Amy. That is the truth of the matter. Let's get this thing done with already. Whoever is going to get locked up, if they're going to get locked up or charged, let's get it done. I mean, I don't understand why we're waiting here, but wait, we must. We don't have any choice, and that's what we're trying to figure out here. I'd like to just understand what the tie-up is. I was a lawyer in a past life, and look, the law moves very slowly at times, but that's no excuse here. 3 years is 3 years, and if somebody's going to be held accountable, let's see it done already.
Absolutely. It's really sad, because I know that people have lost faith in some of our three-letter agencies, some of the premier law enforcement agencies, the FBI. And I know it was a couple bad eggs or a few bad eggs at the top. But the thing is, the American people need that trust restored. They need the trust restored in the federal government. And there's not a lot of trust right now. And it's sad. And I think that the people, not only do the American people deserve to know, but the people that work for these agencies, they need their faith restored. All around, all of this needs to be exposed, and it needs to be put out there. And I think it's for the good of the people and the good of the country.
Totally agree with you. Well, hey, people want to find out more about you, follow you on the web, maybe even join you at one of your upcoming demonstrations. Where's the best place to go, and where do we find you?
You can go to WFAF.org. That's WFAF.org. That's Women for America First. And we're on Facebook, Women for America First, and also on Twitter. And I'm Amy Kremer, AMYKREMER, and you can find me on Twitter. And we're looking forward to being active. We'll be doing this event in Columbia, South Carolina on Friday, protesting at Lindsey Graham's office, and we'll be doing a national day of action on November 5th, which is 1 year from Election Day. We'll be having congressional protests across the country. And then we're even going to be protesting Mitt Romney on Saturday, November 9th, after his Pierre Delecto Twitter account. I mean, what a disgrace for a U.S. senator. It's really sad and disappointing. But we're going to be out there and engaging people, and come on out and join us. There's many more Trump supporters than you would believe. And it's time for all of us to band together and be out there front and center.
Yeah. Is Mittens Romney the biggest loser you ever heard of?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just so sad. It's so sad. I mean, just the size of the man's ego, and I don't understand it. And he comes from, I mean, he's a nice man. I've met him before, he and his wife, but why he couldn't just ride off into retirement and be done? Why? I mean, to ask our president to interview for Secretary of State, then ask for his endorsement for U.S. Senate. I mean, and then to have this Twitter account and it's a disgrace and what an embarrassment. I just would expect more from a U.S. Senator.
Yeah, well, if he had what it took, he would have maybe become president. He just really choked in the end, and good riddance to him. He really needs to just get the heck out, because nobody really wants to hear his garbage, and he doesn't even have the guts to put his stuff in his own Twitter account, and he's defending himself in a fake Twitter account. And, come on. This is just
I mean, that is gutless.
Really.
I mean, and then you look at our president and the exact opposite. The man has a spine. You may not like what he says, but he will go out there and fight for what he believes in. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. And then you have Mittens, who is gutless and has Pierre Delecto. It has to do it all under a pseudonym. I mean, thank God for Donald J. Trump and that he is our president. I truly thank God every day.
Well, hey, it's he's certainly the best hope that we have here. I mean, we've been betrayed by every Republican that ever ran for office, basically. So you can't expect them to do anything at this point. They're just not going to. So if we don't do it ourselves, it's not going to get done. And Trump basically says what most of you out there are thinking, and that's why he's become the leader of the party. Why he's literally taken over the party and really reconstructed it in his own image, if you will. Anyway, Amy, really appreciate you coming on. We'll have a link to your sites in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter. And while you're at it, the Twitter feed is @KerryLutz, Facebook page, Financial Survival Network. Amy, I'm sure we'll be talking to you again real soon. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.